Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. There's Bugsy Malone over in the background barking already. Can you hear her? Nightmare. I hope you guys are all happy and healthy doing the things that you love with those you love to do them with. Please do me a favour, guys. Smash the like button for me on the video if you enjoy these updates. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment or two. Let me know your thoughts on today's updates. And there's some interesting ones. A couple of things before I get into the transfer news, views and clues. And by the way, one of the stories today is quite exciting in as much as Rodrygo has apparently opened his mind to the idea of coming to the Premier League, having started the season at Real Madrid, having had a summer of will he, won't he move, how's he going to get his minutes before the World Cup, and ultimately it hasn't worked out, so he's much more open-minded about coming to the Premier League in January, and that means that Tottenham and Arsenal and Liverpool are all on alert for the player, I'll come to that story in a bit more detail. Before I get to that, Jamie Carragher on Monday Night Football was talking about the Tottenham sort of tactical press, the tactical stuff, how we are press resistant and the mistakes that we're making. And a couple of things that he mentioned, I think, ring true. One is he's saying that there's no chemistry, there's no wavelength between the midfielders and the defenders. When we're trying to play out from the back, players get caught in difficult situations and the other players are kind of caught player watching rather than moving for him. And I completely agree. I've said that before about the wavelength and the chemistry not quite there with Tottenham from the midfield. We haven't got midfielders that are capable really of progressing the ball up the field with a balanced array of talent that then don't neglect the other sides of their game. But it also, it's a problem at the back as well with regards Micky van der Ven and Kevin Danso being a part of that issue when Romero isn't there. The other thing that he was saying was, Bugsy's in a real annoying mood this morning. The other thing that he was saying was that Palhinha, he's making this point that Palhinha is a stumbling block to Tottenham's ability to progress the ball. He can't do it himself. He was saying there's a reason why none of the other Premier League teams came in for him when he went to Bayern Munich. There's a reason why Bayern Munich didn't play him. And obviously, the fact that he's come back, he's very, very good at what he does, but what he can't do and what he doesn't do is a problem for managers who are trying to move from a sort of smaller clubs to bigger clubs and then learn how to do more things with the ball than without it. And again, listen, I don't disagree with him in principle. We've always said that Palhinha's, he's not someone that is fantastic with the ball at his feet. You were hoping that you would see Bentancur that would be able to provide that additional value moving the ball forward, but he doesn't seem to do it as much either. I think the two of the games where we won 3-0 this season were games without Bentancur. I think other people in there is potentially a solution at times, but Thomas Frank, and according to Jamie Carragher and other people as well I've been seeing on Twitter, the Tacticos, they're all on this sort of same page, same wavelength of Palhinha and Bentancur equals turgid football equals no ability to progress. And then you go, well, what other options do you have? What people are saying, is it going to be Berghvall? Is it going to be Berghvall's now concussed? Is it going to be Pape Sarr? Neither of them are perfect solutions. That's why there's an amplified kind of rhetoric that is going around in the Tottenham fan base around desires to see a better ball playing, total midfielder, an 8 box-to-box player that can progress and pass and has a good array of kind of tempo mastering of the game of football with the ball. And I think that that's fair and reasonable, and I hope that that is something we're looking at and considering for January, and if not, then in the summer for sure. But I do think there's another kind of oversight here. When Romero is in the team, he is the best passing centre-back in the league, in my opinion. I think he's also aggressive and can do a lot of the things, potentially as a DM, that Palhinha can do. And I think that therein lies a potential solution. A lot of people have been talking about, why can't we go to a back three? Some people are saying we can't do it at home. It's not applicable at home. It wouldn't satisfy. But I think that there are arguments where you could do that. You could remove Palhinha from the system in certain games, go to a back three, allow the width to come from your wing backs, and let Romero be in the middle of a back three. Then when we have the ball, to progress forward, to go into a DM role, and then he does have the ability to push the ball forward with consummate ease, with his incredible ability to thread a pass through the eye of a needle. And I think that it's a solution. It's not the perfect solution. We obviously need transfers. We need players in that can do more of the things that we want and less of the things that we sort of already are capable in. And that can't happen until January, but we've got a hell of a lot of fixtures coming up that are incredibly difficult, that are going to shape the rest of our season. And I think that there is some merit in what is being said by Jamie Carragher about the fact that with the ball pressing out from the back against teams that are very, very press strong, that we seem to struggle because there's no chemistry, there's no wavelength amongst the movement of the players that don't have the ball within the Tottenham team, and he gave a couple of examples. That is a problem that has to be figured out on the training ground. That is something that comes with time, but surely, you know, after 3 months, those are the sorts of things that should be sort of ironed out with a sort of expedited effort. But then I think maybe there is another solution in terms of what we can do with the ball where we're not under the press, which is moving the ball forward more quickly against teams that do the low block against us. And maybe the solution in that scenario, it seems a bit counterintuitive to play a back three against teams that are going to do the counter press. But if you were to replace Paulinho with a fully fit Romero in the back three, you can allow him to get forward more as a DM that can also do the crunching, do the nasties that Paulinho can do, read the game well, but also be able to progress the pass up the field. And I think that might be a solution that we need to look at a little bit more than we currently are. In other news, guys, and I've got to round this off because I've only got 4% battery on my camera here, sort of donut for not charging it up. Rodrygo. So, he hasn't played. I think he's played 2 games all season for Real Madrid, according to what I've seen in the stats. He's got 2 assists, so when he does play, he can still do his thing. A top player. The World Cup is around the corner. If you look at some of the performances of some of the other Brazilians in the league, in the Premier League and elsewhere, he must be sitting there thinking there's a chance that I'm not going to be participating in any real meritable way in the World Cup unless I get minutes. So, do I need to go on loan somewhere? And he might fancy going to Arsenal or Liverpool more than he does Tottenham on paper, but is he going to get the minutes in a Liverpool shirt or an Arsenal shirt that he would in a Tottenham shirt? If he comes to Tottenham in January, he is basically guaranteed to play as a left winger as soon as he's fully fit in as many games as he possibly can. It would be an unbelievable rebalancing of our team. It would allow us to have players that can attack down both sides with equal with consummate ease. That in and of itself creates a hell of a lot of mischief in the minds of the defenders, who then don't know whether to double up on him, don't know whether to double up on Kudus, as they already are doing, because we haven't got that threat down the left-hand side. And if those things happen, then you can bring the ball more infield into the 10, where hopefully you'll see a Xavi Simons that has a little bit more time on the ball than he currently does. Now, Xavi Simons needs to realise that he has less time on the ball than he thinks he does, coming from the Bundesliga to the Premier League. But in a world where there's only one threat in a Tottenham shirt, and that's Kudus, and the teams are doubling up on him, when he tries to bring the ball through into the middle, Xavi Simons doesn't have that much time. If there's a double threat, if there's players on both sides of the park that the opposition need to concern themselves with, the ultimate outcome is that there's going to be someone with space somewhere, and if that can be Xavi Simons, he can be a beneficiary of it. Kolo Muani can be a beneficiary of it. Kudus can be a beneficiary of it. So I think that there is a chance here to promote the idea of Rodrygo coming to Tottenham to get his minutes ahead of the World Cup, and then maybe sell that story above the Arsenal story. Arsenal have already got so much depth, so much ability to rotate, so many options, and relatively so few injuries, that he might go to Arsenal and play some minutes, 25% of minutes, 30% of minutes, but not anywhere near 80, 90, 100% of minutes that he would get at Tottenham, and therefore be able to put his best foot forward. That to me is an interesting story, and one that I think we should be keeping an eye on as January approaches. The other story out today, guys, is about Semenyo, Fijaci's again. Sorry, it wasn't. It was. Well, I think I said earlier, Fijaci's was the story for Rodrygo. It wasn't. It was. Graham Bailey at TBR. Fijaci's are coming out and talking about Semenyo to Tottenham, and that Tottenham actually think that they have a chance of getting this one done. And they're promoting this narrative based on ideas that Bournemouth might have to just sort of shake hands with reality. And if they get the money now, they'll be able to get a larger slice of the pie than what they're going to have to inevitably get in in the summer anyway, when the release clause will be triggered. And if they can get an extra 20 million, is the juice worth the squeeze on the extra 20 million quid or whatever they'll get for him in January if they were to sell him? Could they go and reinvest that player in reinvest that money in another player that will be able to kind of carry on their momentum and keep themselves in and around the European spots? It will be an interesting one. I don't believe it for a second. First of all, Fijaci's no good when it comes to English stories personally. Spanish stories maybe, in Portuguese stories they're fine, but English stories I don't know why they would be the people that are breaking that sort of story. So I think it's just speculation. For me personally, I'd love to see Semenyo, of course I would, but you know, I just don't think it's going to happen. Certainly not in January anyway. Other stories, Jonathan David, that story I broke to you guys yesterday, that's come around again today. This time it's Sky Italia. Yesterday it was Sky Sports in Switzerland, Sasha Tavolieri that was bringing it in. Today it's Sky Italia. Apparently there's real merit to this one, guys, and it is something that I would be all over. I think Jonathan David is a player that will amplify our chances, that has a lot of skill sets, a lot of strength. He presses well, he works very hard. He's great with his right foot, great with his left, and he's great with his head. I've got to round it off, guys. This is a very short one from me because I've got 1% on the battery, and if I don't press pause now, then it will disappear forever. Like, subscribe and comment. I'll see you later on for a live stream, and as always, bye bye.